Welcome to Legends in Leadership, brought to you by ISF and the Carrington Group. Legends in Leadership is an inspirational podcast featuring the stories of leaders who are making a difference. Our goal is to inspire you with the stories of leaders who come from humble beginnings, overcome challenges, and ultimately rise up to make a difference in people's lives.
Hello, welcome to Legends in Leadership. This is Jason Smith, your host today and family officer with the Carrington Group. I'm joined by my co-host Kyle Watkins, also a family officer and partner with me at the Carrington Group. How's it going?
Good morning.
Well, each week we kick off our show with our leadership trivia question, and for this week, Kyle's going to take the helm and tell us about a famous leader. And Kyle, what do you have for us today?
Yeah, it's a good one. So today's legendary leader started out as a child of Cherokee Nation, wandered his way through Argentina, South Africa, and Australia before launching a career in America that ranged from the Ziegfeld Follies stage in New York to becoming an iconic star of Hollywood's big screen. His wit and wisdom captivated people from all walks of life with a commentary on politics and Americana culture that made him the most quotable cowboy that Oklahoma ever produced. He is a friend and frequent critic of several presidents, and H.L. Mencken called him the most dangerous man alive because of the power his comments had on his adoring public. Who is this legendary leader? I'll be back at the close of today's show.
All right.
You know. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm excited to have our guest today, Adam Alfia, on this episode. We are continuing to interview the honorees of the Dallas Business Journal Top 100 Entrepreneurs. Adam is managing director of Maestro, Avenue Entertainment Group, and most recently the founder of the Feedback app. The majority of his business ventures are in either the hospitality industry or involve the enhancement of the customer experience, from allowing you to leave discreet real-time feedback to business owners and managers with the Feedback app, to MyStar, which offers personal assistance programs for automotive companies such as Infiniti, Nissan, Subaru, and Mitsubishi. Maestro offers concierge services to AARP, vacation programs, and the medical industry. He is one of the founding owners of several successful concepts, such as Shell Shack, Playground, Theory Nightclub, TXR, Landmark, and The Yard. So welcome to the show, Adam. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good morning.
So a lot of experience in the hospitality space, and we kind of like to start each show with rewinding the tape a little bit, and tell us how you became interested in the hospitality industries.
Well, when I was still at SMU, I was very interested in cars. I opened up a mechanic repair shop when I was still in school, and slowly grew those into 4 locations. If you're going to be in any consumer-driven business, auto repair is one of the worst ones. I mean, everybody, if you ask people who's the least trusted person out there, auto mechanics are probably way up there. So we decided to do things a little different, where we were honest with the customer, and we had a huge following. We had 4 locations here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I sold those in 2005, and wanted to get into something new. And at the time, I was finding myself going from store to store and needed a personal assistant to help me out. And when I looked for a fractional type of personal assistant service where, somebody I can just call up and say, hey, I need XYZ, I found that most of them were overseas. You couldn't really hire a company here or a person here that'll just do, hey, I'll charge you by the hour for whatever it is you need. So when I sold, I looked for something else to do, and I decided to open up a call center that catered to high-end individuals who needed a personal assistant, but not full-time.
Okay.
And that was, once we started getting a lot we had a lot of financial planners and attorneys, people that were always on the go that hired us. We started giving our services to companies who gave it to their employees as a benefit of working at that company. And then it migrated into, can you give this to our customers?
Okay.
And that was kind of like the light bulb moment where, it occurred to me that if a company gave their customers a elevated type of personal assistant service, concierge service, to help them with anything they needed, not just what that business was interested in, and then branded that service to their company, it would really have a big loyalty play.
Yeah.
So we started going. My background was automotive. I knew a lot of car dealerships in the area, so we started marketing the service called MyStar to local dealerships, and we had a really good response to it. Customers, dealerships started giving away their dealership branded personal assistant concierge service to their customer every time they bought a car.
Okay.
So it was a really cool, really good service, and we caught the eye of Infinity in 2009. They called us and said, "Hey, we had a bunch of Infinity stores," and we got brought up at the dealers meeting. Said, "Hey, we have this really cool product that customers love." So in 2010, Infinity launched Infinity Personal Assistant, and we've been with them ever since. We're in every Infinity. If you push a button in the car, you reach our call center here in Dallas.
Wow.
So since then, now we're launching Nissan. We started 2 months ago. We launched Subaru last year, Mitsubishi a year and a half ago. We've got about 2 or 3 other manufacturers that are going to use our services here coming up in the next 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. So that was my foray into the hospitality and customer experience and stuff like that. And in 2011, I opened up a bar and nightclub, my first one here in Uptown in McKinney, with my cousin. I was single at the time. It seemed like a cool thing to do.
Right.
That seems to happen often. Like you get to a certain point in life, and almost inevitably, someone says, "Hey, we should open a bar."
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it when we used to go out all the time, and especially in Dallas, where there's not a lot of nightclubs.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know anybody, you're standing in line. Mm-hmm. And we used to joke, "Go, man, if we owned our own place, that'd be really cool." And then one came available for sale. And we looked at each other. I said, "I'll put up the money, you run the deal, and we'll do it." Mm-hmm. And now we've got 5 concepts here in Dallas and Fort Worth. And that we also, part of when I bought the nightclub, it also came with a restaurant. Mm-hmm. And I met some guys, 2 great guys, Dallas and Matt, that learned how to boil crab. And we got together, said, "Hey, why don't we open up a crab restaurant? I've got the space right on McKinney Avenue." So we opened up the first Shell Shack. I want to say 2014, maybe. And now we have 8 locations.
Right.
So kind of weird how life takes you down certain paths. And I would have never thought, if in a million years, that I'd be, an owner in a crab restaurant concept. Right. Here we are.
So your entrepreneurial journey's starting back in college. I'm curious, what was the sort of mentorship or motivation, or who did you look up to sort of learn what it is to be a business owner and that entrepreneurial effort?
It's funny because I actually took business in SMU, and looking back, there was a lot of things I had to unlearn that they teach you at school that you never, if you did it, the way they do it, they don't teach you about negotiating and, property taxes. And,
right.
It was when I opened up my first location that I actually built from the ground up, I got a property tax bill and I had no idea what it was. I mean, I've never paid property tax before. And I go, I'll pay it later. Mm-hmm. And turned out to come back because property tax is the only tax you can't negotiate. And it ended up costing me, instead of paying $50,000, I think after all the fees and everything, I think it was $110,000.
Oh, wow.
So, it was a lesson.
Expensive lesson.
Yeah. So if they didn't teach you anything in college about lawsuits, rights as a business owner, how to file certain things, a lot of things that, I had to learn on my own. But as far as, he wasn't on the stage yet then, but people like Elon Musk that wake up in the morning and say, I have an idea and do it, are the kind of people that I really look up to, where it's, a lot of people when they, they have ideas, but, the difference is they don't really, and a lot of them are good ideas. I hear ideas all the time. People come to me and I go, well, go ahead and do it. It's a great idea. But, they keep on doing what they're used to doing, and they, don't take the leap of faith forward. And, And it's a shame because we'd have a lot more great products if people just, pursue their dreams a little bit more.
Yeah, and actually execute on that vision.
Well, I mean, like, for example, when I was starting model repair shops, I actually went to the head of I was in the entrepreneurship program. I went to the head of entrepreneur, and I already had my auto repair little shop over here on Inwood Road. It was just 4 bays.
Okay.
And my vision was to open up like a huge facility that competed with the dealerships. Mm-hmm. And I went to him and I go, look, here's my idea, here's my business plan. And he goes, oh, nobody will ever lend you money on that. Because I needed about $1.5 million to buy the land, build it. So coincidentally, I was sitting with my cousin one day, and he goes, I have a buddy that works for an SBA approved lending company.
Yeah.
Because you look at the SBA, I go, I didn't even know what the SBA was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my professor didn't tell me.
Wow.
So I went, applied. Within, I think, 30, 45 days, I had an approval for $1.4 million.
Oh, gosh.
I go, where's this guy when I need him? I'm supposed to be in the entrepreneurship program. And,
Yeah.
The advice that I was looking for, because I left, I was really disheartened after I talked to my professor. He goes, nobody's going to lend you money on that. But I got it. Now, the SBA gives smaller loans than they used to. Mm-hmm. This was in 98 when I got my first SBA loan. But I think now they cap it at a certain amount. But back then it was, they were giving, if you had a good idea and you had, we had collateral of the business and the land and all that.
Mm-hmm. You were already operational at that point. This was expansion capital. This wasn't just an idea.
Yeah. But still, I think a lot of people don't know all the avenues that are, that the government helps you with as far as wanting to, start a new business, et cetera. And I think, people are afraid to take that leap because it is hard. There's a lot of, roadblocks, when it comes to opening up a new venture, especially something that nobody's done before, because now you're building an industry from the ground up.
Right. So how do you decide the ideas that come to mind or come across your desk? Do you have a process to decide if that's something worth pursuing or not? Is it more of a feel type of approach you take?
Well, I'm very hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
So my first consideration is how much bandwidth I would have to, put into the project in order to make it work.
Okay.
Also, like feedback, for example, my newest project is more of a labor of love because I'm a huge customer service nut, and I think that customer service in the U.S. is dwindling. Mm-hmm. People don't care anymore. The generation that we have now growing up, especially learning how they communicate via text and not face to face, I think is a dying art. And I see people, especially in I'm in the hospitality industry, and in restaurants, for example, we see this new breed of waiter. A waiter position, used to have where they're really skilled. They can read your face. If you're unhappy with something, they come up, is everything okay? But now they're so oblivious to facial expressions and mannerisms. I go, you can clearly see that I'm unhappy. Why would you not walk up and, that's what you do for a living, and say, hey, I see that you're unhappy with your meal, or if I ate half my plate and pushed it away. You need to find these, people don't have the cues that they used to anymore. Yeah. And I think it's a huge part is, face-to-face interaction. My kids now, they don't call me, they send me a text. And sometimes I find myself back and forth. I go, just call me. Yeah. This is a 1-minute conversation instead of a 15-minute text back and forth.
Yeah.
So
how does the feedback app look to help improve that deficiencies that you're seeing growing in the market?
So whenever I'm in a retail store, my antenna is always up. I'm always looking around. I see, employees on their cell phones. I see, lack of customer attention. I'll go to Home Depot, for example, and I'm walking around for 10 minutes. I go, somebody just please help me. I got a question. And, when you walk up to an employee and go, hey, I'm looking for this, instead of go, yeah, let me take you over there. Let me show you where it is. They go, okay, yeah, it's 3 miles, 3 aisles that way, 2 over there. Go. And I'm walking around. Just walk me over there. You're not doing anything. Just
right. So you're getting paid to do this.
Yeah. So I believe that customer attention, customer experience is dying. And actually, I was at a Walmart when I had, the light bulb moment for if only there was an app. There was a situation where I went in with my kids. We just bought a puppy, and we got him home. It was like 11 o'clock at night. By the time okay, it's time to go to bed. I go, oh, I forgot I have a kennel. So my son and I went to a Walmart, bought one of those huge kennels because it was going to be a big dog, and we were going through this. The only thing that opened was a self-checkout lane, and it was a kennel that was in a box, but it was really hard to get through the scanner. So
Gotcha.
I asked the girl, and we had like 7 or 8 items in the car. I bought them some toys, etc., some food. Oh, we can't scan you up here because they have a little, the front of the checkout has their own count terminal. She goes, well, we can't help you if you have more than 5 items. I go, why? And she goes, that's just the rules. I go, okay. So we struggled. We finally got everything scanned. When we're leaving, I saw that she wasn't there. There's another girl there. They switched out. I guess. So I asked the girl. I said, the girl that was here before said that I can only scan 5. You can only help me with 5 items. She goes, that's not true.
Oh, gosh.
I go, well, that's what she goes, yeah, she's lazy. So when we were walking out, I saw the girl on her phone. So I walked up to her and I go, I'm going to tell your manager about the experience I had. And I took her picture with a little, name on her badge. And the next day I had my personal assistant service. I called him up, sent him a picture. I said, get the manager on the phone from Walmart. I want to tell him the experience I had. And it was a process. I mean, they had to call the store and finally, coordinate the time of when he's going to be there. Finally, they got him on the phone, and I told him the situation. He goes, do you have her name? I go, not only have her name, I have her picture. And he goes, man, if it was only this easy when I can get information from customers about, I wish everybody told me when they had an employee that wasn't doing what they were supposed to. And I said, if there was an app out there that no matter what business I was at, I could tell them what I'm having experience with, and in real time, that would send that to the manager of the store or designated employee that would take care of it, I think that would go a long way for customers to be able to voice their opinion about that store in real time. Not I've left and now I go on Yelp and say, hey, they got terrible customer experience, because that doesn't help my position. All it does is hurt the business.
Right.
And most business owners want to know, especially small business owners.
Absolutely.
They want to know. And a lot of times managers or employees at the store, you can walk up to them and go, hey, your bathroom's out of toilet paper. They won't do anything. They just go back to whatever it is that they're doing, and nobody ever does
Not my job.
Not my job.
No,
That's not
yeah.
my job. So I think, an app like Feedback that lets the people that need to know in real time what their customers are experiencing and interface with that customer, because it has a chat feature. So if I'm somewhere and I have an issue and I tell that manager can now have a conversation with me and take care of me right then.
Yeah.
So with client experience so important to a lot of the stuff that you're involved with, how do you create that culture internally to where that's so vitally important, maybe from the top down, but how do you, as a leader, instill that culture?
Well, we have a very rigorous hiring and training process in our call center. So we probably turn away 90% of applicants. A lot of people apply that have call center experience, and we don't want call center experience. We want life experience and learn how to deal with customers, because I get on the phone, I make calls to customer service every once in a while, whether it's your credit card company or Home Depot or whatever it is, and as soon as that person gets on the phone, you automatically know what kind of experience you're about to have, just based on the way they say hello.
Exactly.
Because you can tell whether they want to help you or if they really like their job just from their voice. And we have quality control that all they do is listen. Does that employee want to be there today? And can a customer tell? And we can, you can tell. And that's what we care about is when that customer gets off the phone with us, I want them to go, wow, that was a really nice experience. Now, granted, people most of the time don't call us to complain. When they call for a concierge, they say, hey, I need help getting into a restaurant, or hey, my wife's anniversary, can you plan something fun? So they're calling it for they're not calling to complain, but still, we want when people get off the phone to say that was one of the best customer experiences I've ever had. And that's what we strive for. And you just got to find the right people.
Yeah. Do you find that the market's expectations have changed as well, or do you still find people are hungry for that experience, and are they just becoming callous to feel like, oh, this just is the way it is?
Lower bar.
Yeah. Can the Feedback app help bridge that gap as well?
Yeah, it should, because one of the things that drives me crazy is we have 8 restaurants now, and when I read the Yelp reviews sometimes, I'll call the manager or I'll call my business partner, hey, what happened here? And the number one answer always is, the customer didn't tell us. So a customer could have a bad experience, but people are so opposed to face-to-face confrontation now that you don't see a lot of customers raising their hand and saying, can I speak to the manager?
Okay.
This is unacceptable. They just leave. They don't come back. They might tell some friends, hey, don't go over there. And they'll worse is they put something online.
Yeah, they rip into you online where you have no opportunity to engage them and try to resolve it.
Right. So if customers, because nobody walks into an establishment, especially restaurants, and says, I want to have a bad experience.
Sure.
People walk in and they say, I want to pay money and I want to get value for my money.
Mm-hmm.
And if that transaction doesn't transpire, if you're not getting value for your money, you won't come back. But me, as a business owner, I want you to be brutal. If you're sitting down and if there's anything that's not to perfection, if you say that, the food came out cold or whatever, don't grin and bear it.
Mm-hmm.
Raise your hand, especially now if you have an app and we advertise it on the tables. If there's anything that's less than perfect with your experience, let us know and we'll respond in real time.
That's great.
So I think customers, once they know that they have a voice, especially talking to the manager, like if you walked into a restaurant and you said, here's the owner's cell phone number, if there's any problems, call them. Now, obviously we don't want to give, and that's part of the reason for the app is most managers don't want the customer to have their personal cell phone number.
Sure.
So that's where the disconnect is, and I think that the feedback app, bridges that gap.
So how do you manage employees in those opportunities? So obviously the first time something happens, it's an opportunity for coaching to help them become better. What is that sort of approach like for you when you're trying to coach someone up through a learning experience?
Well, I think that one of the problems is that employees, especially in hospitality industry, know that customers either A, don't know their name, B, won't complain directly about them, and that it really doesn't affect their paycheck at the end.
Okay.
But if I'm an employee and it has on the table that at any time the customer can complain directly to the manager and say, hey, I'm sitting at table 12 and service is horrible. Me as a waiter, I'm probably going to do a better job.
Sure.
Knowing now that there's a button of sorts that anybody can push and call me out for having bad service.
Mm-hmm.
But very few people complain. They just go to a restaurant and say, hey, I had a terrible experience. And the owner, when you look at it, he can't identify the waiter or what happened. It was usually by the time the restaurant finds out about it, 2 or 3 days have passed.
Sure.
And now they're doing everything. They're throwing everything at you to either A, remove their post,
mm-hmm.
and B, come back. Because it's not really having the post as much as, I just lost a customer who's now made their experience vocal.
Right.
And, it's out there.
Right.
And Yelp, for example, loves negative reviews.
Really?
So if you have negative reviews, a lot of times they float to the top rather than the good, great experience. Those all a lot of times stay at the bottom unless you sort it by good experiences.
Interesting.
Yeah, I actually heard something on another podcast that talked about Yelp, and the longer the response, the more negative it is. And so it's interesting because if it's positive, it's like, this is great, this is fantastic, wonderful. But people will go on and they'll give 1 stars to multiple different places because they just like to complain, and they'll write a thesis about it.
Right. Yeah, there's only so many things you can say about a positive experience, but there's a lot of things to say about it because you have the details now. Whenever
mm-hmm.
somebody has a negative experience, you have details of what pissed you off.
Right.
So now you want people to know about it. But if I could just have a conversation with the manager,
mm-hmm.
and the manager comes over, he goes, hey, I'm sorry, that was the meal's on me.
Mm-hmm.
Next time you come see me and I'll make sure you have a better experience. That to me goes a long way compared to I'm just going to leave and not come back.
So there's not a public-facing piece to the feedback app then?
No, it's all private.
It's all internal, and it really just meant to create an opportunity to resolve rather than just publicly shame.
Right. Our slogan is actually give them help before they yelp.
Okay.
So you want to take care of that problem before it becomes, a situation where they leave and not come back or gets put on, on one of the public sites, Google, Facebook, etc. Mm-hmm. And, one of the great things is after somebody's situation is resolved, the manager, whoever has the app on the business side, can send them a link to give them a positive review. So you're not only diverting a bad review, hopefully once you resolve it, you can now turn it into a positive review.
Mm-hmm. So what's your vision for the feedback app? We've talked a bit about restaurants, but what's the grand vision for where this can help improve the industry as a whole?
Well, I mean, it's not just restaurants. So, we're going to utilize our call center. So if you actually walk into a Walmart, a Home Depot, any type of business,
mm-hmm.
and you have an issue and you open up your app, it shows you where you are. So
okay.
let's say you're at a Home Depot, you go, I'm at Home Depot, and you put your response. If that business is not on feedback, because a business has to register with feedback, mm-hmm. and say, okay, here's John, here's Bill, they're going to be the ones managing the feedback messages coming in. If they're not on that, the call center, my call center, actually gets a real-time pop on their screen, and then an agent will pick up the phone, call that Home Depot, get a manager on the phone, and say, I've got a customer, or you've got a customer there on site right now that's having an issue. Here's their issue. Can I conference them in and get the two on the phone? So now, no matter what store I'm in, whatever business I'm in, I can now have a direct feedback loop to that business.
That's great. And so do users of the feedback app pay a monthly fee to participate, to have that in their pocket, or is it mostly monetized through the business side?
Right, so users never pay.
Okay.
We are right now, we're just launching it and putting it in different businesses absolutely free. And then we're going to monetize it where it's going to be $50 a month for any business to have that in their store.
Okay.
Which is very inexpensive.
One customer, one customer experience is going to pay for that.
Right.
Right. Fantastic. Well, we like to wrap up each show with asking our guests about a particular leadership nugget of information. So maybe it came from a book or another podcast or a conference, but just a leadership nugget for our audience that's helped you progress as you have and find the success that you've experienced.
Not to quote Nike, but one of the things that, I think I brought this up in the beginning, is just do it. If you have an idea that you're passionate about, just do it. Even it's on the side. You have, if you work 40 hours a week, there's still a bunch of hours you got the weekends.
Sure.
Start the project. The first thing you need is one of my business partners always says, the first thing you need is a customer. Nothing happens till you have a customer. So pitch your friends and family and see if it's a viable business, if they're willing to pay for it, and then pursue it. I mean, nobody wants to work, for a company all their life and, retire with a pension. People want to pursue their dreams. And if you have a good idea, run after it as hard as you can.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Adam, thanks again for joining us on the show today. Really appreciate your insights. And how can folks check out the Feedback app?
Feedbackapp.com.
Okay. Perfect. Easy enough.
Simple.
Right.
Awesome.
Well, Kyle, we're going to turn it back over to you for our leadership trivia answer.
Yes, he never met a man he didn't like. I don't know if either you have a guess or not. He's the second favorite son of Oklahoma, obviously. Will Rogers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not realize he was of Cherokee background.
Yep.
Great. Well, folks, that's a wrap for our podcast today. On behalf of our guest and my co-host, Kyle, want to remind you that if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a leader.
Legends in Leadership is brought to you by the Carrington Group. Carrington Group is a family office with a passion for helping business leaders and their families make smart choices and fulfill their highest aspirations. To learn more about the Carrington Group, visit their website at www.carringtonfo.com or Google Carrington Group, Dallas, Texas. ISF is committed to leadership development for aged-out foster care and orphaned youth. ISF's mission is to transform these youth into tomorrow's leaders with scholarships, mentoring, and leadership training. To learn more about ISF, visit their website at isfsite.org or Google International Student Foundation to learn more.
Securities offered through Regulus Advisors, LLC. Member FINRA/SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Regal Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors are affiliated entities. Carrington Group and this broadcast are independent of Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors.